Now, if you cast your mind back to when ChatGPT was first launched, it had a cut-off date for its knowledge, and that was because it's a static model. So it would be trained up to information to a certain date, and anything after that date, of course, it couldn't know it. So if you asked it a news headline or a sports event after that cut-off date, it wouldn't know the answer. Then we had large language models that could access the internet. So if you were asking something that needed to be updated with current information, it could quickly go off, search a web page, read that web page and incorporate it into its response. Now we have a new technology called deep research. Now in this video I want to look at deep research, show you how you can run it using an open source project without relying on offerings from OpenAI or Google or Perplexity, and I also want to show you how you can run it for free using Perplexity's new free tier. So if you want to find out more, please let me explain. Okay then, let's get started. So what is deep research? Well, both OpenAI and Google offer a service called deep research, and it really is now one of the first popular agent use cases. So an agent is something that you can give it a task and it will go off independently to achieve that task, including, in this case, accessing the internet and finding out data without interaction with the user. It goes away and does it all automatically. So you give it a prompt and then the LLM will create a report by searching for, analyzing and processing different online sources. So it's not just getting its stuff from its own memory, its own database, its own training. It's actually go out onto the internet and look for up-to-date stuff by searching the internet. It's very much a rinse and repeat type process. What do I mean by that? Well, it might, first of all, if you're doing a search or something, it might say, well, what are the sub areas of this search? And then it will go away and look for some stuff. Once it finds out some stuff, it might ask some more questions of what it's found out, go back, do some more searching, rinse and repeat. It just keeps going round and round and round until some criteria have been satisfied: depth of searching, breadth of searching, and then once it's got together all of the data it needs, it can then kind of throw that all into one lump and say, create a report summarizing this information, and that's how you get the report out at the end. Okay, so that all sounds great, but OpenAI's version is only available to Pro subscribers. Google's version is only available to its Gemini Advanced subscribers. So OpenAI's version will cost you $200 a month. Google's version is going to cost you like $20, $25 a month, whatever the current deal is there. The good news is Perplexity's deep research is free, but with a limited number of answers per day. And at the end of the video, I'm going to show you Perplexity's deep research and show you how that works and how you can access that for free. But OpenAI is also promising deep research for plus and free users coming soon. So we can see there's a kind of a different kind of spread of possibilities depending on whether you're looking for a free but limited number of results, or you want to pay $200 a month, or something in between. So to fix all of those problems, a fellow called David Zhang, and I hope I'm pronouncing his name right, sorry if I'm not, has created an open source variant. It does iterative deep research on any subject by combining search engine page results with web scraping and with, of course, a large language model. So here it is. It's an open source project. As I said, I will leave the actual link for it in the description below. And so there's a nice page here with the source code and all the instructions you need to get this up and running. Now here's the diagram that David has provided. So basically, as I said, it's a rinse and repeat. You go into this research thing after you've given it the input, which is basically your prompt, and you tell it how deep to go and how wide to go, and basically it gets the search engine results, it sees what it needs to do, it will go ahead and read those pages, it will see whether there's more questions it needs to ask. If it still knows it's got to go deeper, it will go back round the loop and do it again, and back round the loop and do it again, keep going round the loop every time until in the end it says, well, I've gone deep enough into this subject, I've gone deep enough down this rabbit hole, and then it takes all that information it's got and it creates a report from it. So this works on Linux, that's what I've tested it on. I'm pretty sure it works on Mac OS without much problem. It probably works on Windows, although I haven't tested it. Though looking at the things you need, Node.js, Docker, things like that. I don't think there's going to be a problem with running it on Windows, but I haven't tested it. Okay, as I said, you need a Node.js environment and you need Docker installed. I'm assuming you know what they are and how to install them. I'm not going to cover those in this video. Now you need two API keys to get this to work. The first is you need an API key for a website called Firecrawl, which basically is a web search and content extraction service, and we'll look more about that in a moment. And you need an OpenAI API key for O3 Mini. Now, Firecrawl, we'll talk about O3 Mini and all that in a moment. Firecrawl turns websites into LLM-ready data. So this is a service that's specifically designed for grabbing things off the web, being able to feed them into large language models. There is a free plan that gives you 500 credits as a one-off thing. It takes around 25 to 50 credits for a single report. So with 500 credits, you're going to get maybe 10 bits of research out of this. After that, you're going to need to subscribe to a monthly plan. However, you can run Firecrawl locally. They have some information on how you can self-host it, and I've actually done that, and I've actually had it up and running on Linux without any problem whatsoever. The only problem I had is that because this is using Google to do searches and then it's getting back those search engine results, I was sometimes getting too many requests coming from Google search. Now, I don't think you get that if you use the paid version. They may have some clever ways of splitting the requests so that Google doesn't get bombarded and think that you're trying to, kill it. When you run it locally, that wasn't there. And doing some reading around that problem, it looks like that is one of the differences between the self-hosted version and the cloud version. However, if you don't want to pay any of that monthly subscription, it does work if you run it locally on your machine. Now, I said we'd talk about O3 Mini. So Open Deep Research uses an LLM to generate the questions and the lines of inquiry, and also generate the final report based on that research information. And it's designed to work out of the box with O3 Mini. So that's what David wrote it to do, and that's what it does in its default configuration. Now, you're going to need paid access to the API that OpenAI provide. And the way that works is you sign up for your account, you need to prepay. You upload $10, you upload, you prepay $10, $20, whatever you want, and then as you use the service, that kind of gets knocked down $1.50 every million or so tokens that you do. Now, I have O3 Mini via ChatGPT Plus. I do have that, but I don't yet have it for the API. This is still rolling out. So at the time I made this video, I don't have API access to O3 Mini, which was a bit of a disappointment for me. However, you can configure it in the configuration file. There is a place where you can put in the model that you want to use. And I used GPT-4o Mini. It's also the cheapest and the fastest, and that seemed to work absolutely fine for me. Now, again, if you don't want to pay for any of these services, you can't pay for any of these services, you can run a large language model locally. It's possible to run an LLM locally using programs like Ollama, and I've got lots of videos here, quite a few now, about how you can do that kind of thing here on this channel. However, you do need some clever stuff with port mappings, because Open Deep Research runs in a Docker image, and there's no default mapping to Ollama's port number 11434, and so it can't connect, and it says I can't connect to the LLM. Now, the way around that is to force Ollama to run on port 80. If you're doing this on your local machine, I'm assuming that's not a problem, because you're just firing up this machine to run this stuff. You're probably not running a web server, so you can do that, but you need a bit of clever stuff in Ollama to get it to run on port 80. But remember, of course, this is going to be slow. If you're searching 25 to 50 sites and that's coming back with pages and pages of information, and then it wants to gather all that lot together and then generate the final report. If you're running an LLM at just a few tokens a second, 1, 2, even 10, even 15 tokens a second, it's going to take a long time to process all that data. Now, I tried it with a small LLM running on a 4 gigabyte NVIDIA graphics card, although the speed was okay. Because I was using a very small model, just a 3 billion parameter one, then the results of the research weren't very good, because it was making mistakes in both the lines of inquiry, the questions that should be asked, and the processing of the results. So you're going to need a bigger LLM, And so if you've got the hardware to do that, that's fine. If not, you are going to have to use the API from OpenAI. Okay, installation is pretty easy. I'm assuming you're using Linux. You've got Node.js, you've got Docker. You just follow these lines here, these sequences here, and it works out of the box. I didn't have any trouble setting this up. You clone the GitHub repository. You rename the environment file, the example one, to environment.local. You make sure you put in your API keys there that we just talked about. You can set the model there as well if you need to, if you're not using O3 Mini. You do an npm install, and then you run 2 Docker commands, one to get the image up and running, the other one to execute the deep research inside of it, and that's it. You've got it up and running. So as long as you've got Node, as long as you've got Docker, as long as you've got the API keys, this should pretty much be a turnkey solution. You just follow these 4 or 5 steps and you're going to be up and running. So what I'm going to do is now give you a demo starting from doing the Docker compose and then the Docker execute, and then we'll see it running in action. Okay, so here I am on my Linux machine. I'm inside the deep research directory where I've cloned that GitHub repository, and then I followed all of the instructions there. They're not that hard. And then to get it running, there are 2 Docker commands at the end. So let's run that first Docker command. Okay, that was easy. It's got it up and running. And now there's a second Docker command to actually interact with that container. And this is just cut and paste directly from the instructions. Okay, so what would you like to research? So the best F1 driver of all time. Enter research breadth. So that's when you do a research, you start by making a tree, and then you want to know how wide do you want that tree to be, and then how deep you want it to be. So I'm going to go with the default of 4. Then how deep do you want it to go? 2. I'm going to go a bit deeper. Let's go with 3, just so it iterates a bit more. Okay, starts off by creating a research plan, and it's come back with some questions. Are you interested in statistical analysis based on race wins, championships, or other metrics? I'm just going to say championships. Do you want to consider drivers from all eras? Yes, all eras. Should the evaluation include factors like impact on the sport, driving style, or temperature? No, we're just going to go with just the driver performance, I think. And so it's starting research with progress tracking. So it is going to give us out some different things. Hearing it showing the queries that it's sending off to the search engines, and then it's going to scrape their websites using Firecrawl as we've discussed, and it's going to just basically rinse and repeat this process. And you can see here it's even searching the impact of F1 regulations on Ferrari, Mercedes and Red Bull's cars from 2020 to 2025. It really is doing a wide and deep search about these things. So far it's visited 13 URLs there, we can see. You can see here that it's the depth and the breadth and the number of queries it's doing. Okay, and now it's finally done it. It's come out with the report, including all of the different sources it's got here. And if we scroll back up, this is in Markdown format. Okay, so they're talking about Lewis Hamilton, they're talking about Michael Schumacher, they're talking about Verstappen. Okay, interestingly, these are the modern drivers. I haven't mentioned anyone in the past like Senna or Prost or Fangio. So it's interesting, but there you go. You do have a full report with all the different places that it went to look at, and it's done this using open source software and services that you could even run on your laptop, although I was using the cloud versions for this particular report. Okay, now here's the Perplexity demo I was promising you. Okay, so here we are inside of Perplexity on their website, and as you can see here, I've got the Pro subscription. This does work if you have the free one as well. So if you want to use deep research, you click on there and you click on deep research. And so we're going to ask it the question, who is the best F1 driver of all time? And so you can see it takes a few minutes to complete, it says, and it begins by preparing a research plan. So it's going to go ahead and work out what it needs to do. And you can see it's mentioning here already Juan Manuel Fangio, you've got Senna, you've got Schumacher, you've got Lewis Hamilton. It's looking at what it needs to identify, the depth of the research, and try to work it all out. We'll come back to this when it finishes. As it said, it can take a few minutes. Okay, so now it's saying it's done some searching and it's come up with a wealth of information about the greatest F1 drivers. It's got some information, and now it's going down for another iteration. As I said, deep research is often a rinse and repeat process, you get some new information, you explore different avenues. The point is, this is acting as an agent. I'm not telling it what to go and look for. I'm not telling it what it should be searching about. I'm not giving it questions other than the original question, and it just keeps on going around. It's now looked at 23 sources. Look, it says here 23 sources. Okay, I found enough information to answer your question. So in a minute, it's going to go ahead and start producing the actual report. Okay, so there we go. It's now starting to actually produce the final report. It's mentioning, the foundations of greatness. You got back to the 1950s with Fangio, and you're then going to look at Ayrton Senna with his 3 titles back in the early 90s there. Alain Prost, of course, and then Schumacher with his dominance in the 90s and in the 2000 to 2004. Lewis Hamilton, of course. And then you got people today like Max Verstappen, who are doing well, but they're still going on. Alonso for his longevity. Are you looking at just championships? Are you looking at pole positions? It's looking at all the different conclusions. And it's come to a conclusion here, very interestingly. Ultimately, the greatest driver depends on the criteria. So there is a bit of a, maybe a bit of a cop out there, but it does mention all of the people, and you can look at that and you can see the way it's divided all up. Now, I just asked it one question, and as you can see, it's gone ahead and looked at everything right back to the 1950s. And Jim Clark there mentioned, so all the greats really, and then it's just looking at how they've done in terms of actual performance. A good job, a really good job here by Perplexity. Okay, so there you have it, deep research. You can either use OpenAI or Google or Perplexity, or you can do some of it yourself. Now, personally, I found it a great resource, absolutely brilliant. You can ask it all kinds of questions, whether that's economics or theology or philosophy or technology. It covers them all. It can go away and research and then come back and give you a very comprehensive answer sourced from 20, 30, 40 or more sites. Absolutely brilliant. Love to know your thoughts about deep research in the comments below. And if you've tried OpenAI's and Google's and so on, which one do you find is best? Which one is offering you the best answers? Love to hear your thoughts. Okay, that's it. My name's Gary Sims. This is Gary Explains. I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please do give it a thumbs up. And if you like these kind of videos, I invite you to stick around by subscribing to the channel. Okay, that's it. I'll see you in the next one.